So if you've been watching the HBO series Witness, then you're probably already aware that they do a damn good job of capturing the story, of putting together the images, the cinematography, the photography, the editing, etc. And the South Sudan Witness episode, the newest one, is definitely no different. It's a lot of really beautiful imagery and just powerful stuff, especially considering the horrors that are going on there with the LRA and Kony and that sort of thing. It's pretty tough to watch. Definitely, the documentary is not for the faint of heart. I'm sure there's some of you out there who might not be too familiar with the South Sudan um, problems related to Kony and the the LRA, who are going around and essentially, well, killing entire villages and taking the children and putting them to work for them, or to fight and or kill for the LRA. So it's that type of stuff that is just gut wrenching. And the photographer in this episode, the French woman, which her name slips my mind right now, but she's been all over the place, like many other countries, and been to South Sudan before, so she's really familiar with it, and so she has a particular perspective, or a database of knowledge, experience, etc. But I gotta say, she and also she's pregnant, at least a few months, maybe 3, 4, 5 months pregnant, and she's going out in the bush, in the jungle, searching, tracking for, trying to track down the LRA with the army guys and the Lost Boys, a group of well, just people put together who are taking things into their own hands to try to find these people and kill them. Try to find Coney specifically. But anyway, some things that stood out to me. Uh, let's see. Some of the photographs she was going around in the beginning there, taking photos of people, just not necessarily people she was introduced to, and it made me feel a little weird, right? Uh, and I wondered if they were okay with this white French woman snapping photos of them, inside their homes, their tents, their huts, etc., or out in public, and someone they don't know. I mean, how do they feel about that? Maybe they're used to it, but I can't imagine that it happens that often. And the section where she's going through the jungle, right, and she's dehydrated, she almost faints, she's not getting sleep because of the rain, the bugs, all that stuff, all to get a few photos. I mean, I'm sure there's many other photographers just like her who go through a lot of physical discomfort um, in order to get that perfect shot, or to get a lot of great photos that just are impossible to be able to capture unless they're embedded in with the people, the locals. And the other thing where she mentioned taking photos of some of them, specifically the guy who was in the hospital, who was one of the Lost Boys. Sorry, Arrow Boys, not Lost Boys. But yeah, he was one of the kids who was kidnapped with the LRA, taken, and he never went to school, etc. So anyway, she was taking photos of him and saying that they feel a bit special about their photos being taken. Um, and I don't know if that's something that she was projecting onto them, or if it's something that they were telling her. But it's maybe a bit of a savior complex on her part. And how do you feel about her photographing that woman who she met before, who had met Coney, and who was impregnated by one of his bodyguards, about snapping the photos of her breastfeeding, of her topless, essentially breastfeeding her baby. And there's nothing wrong with breastfeeding in public, etc. But I mean, she was in her own hut, though. She wasn't outside. I just couldn't imagine if this was about a first world country, specifically a white woman, if there would be photos like that. So it just feels exploitative. And also, I mean, the documentary was great, but it was kind of bouncing between the story of South Sudan and LRA and her personal story, how it delved into her 33-year-old boyfriend at the time suddenly having a heart attack and dying in her arms, and how she relates that to seeing and hearing about all these horrible events going on in South Sudan. I just felt like it was bouncing back and forth. I mean, it is only 55 minutes or so, so they only have so much time, but it seems like they could. I don't know. The documentary could be either about one or the other. It seems to be going in and out um, between the two. And also, it was again fascinating at the end how that boy Justin, who I guess was shot, uh, was bleeding, and they didn't say whether he survived or not, but that she was made the quick decision to be involved in the story, to not just take photos of him, to not just document what was going on, similar to Hoagland in Witness Juarez, who took the opposite uh, perspective, right? Where he was just going to take photos. He wasn't there, like he said, to console anybody, to save anybody's life. Where she felt the opposite. But she also said that it's up to the individual photographer or the person who's documenting these events. I mean, how do you feel? What would you do? I guess some people they can detach themselves from what's going on, even though it's happening right in front of them, where others like her cannot. Is it because it was a man? He was a man, and or is a man, and she's a woman? Anyway, so overall, it was. I got a lot to talk about. A lot to see, a lot to digest. So I highly recommend watching it, especially if you don't know anything or very little about what's going on in South Sudan with the LRA and Kony and that sort of thing. So I look forward to the next one, Rio. Bye.